Okay, so what we're looking at today is our payables function in Xero. We've got our demo company that we're looking at, and everyone that has a Xero subscription has access to the demo company. If you need to find it, you just hop up in this little box to the left on the drop down, and it'll if you go change organization, it'll list the demo company there. So you can jump in there, and it's got live data that you can play around with and not actually do any damage to your own file. So what we're going to be running around today is bills and payables. So firstly, I'm just going to show you how to enter some bills and the different types of bills you can enter, and also pop in details as we go. So as you go in, you can go through the business then bills to pay function. Otherwise, there is a little shortcut function over here, which is the plus button, and you can click on new bill. So we'll do that first. So as you go through Xero and you code your transactions, you start creating a bit of a contact history. So if you've paid, say, Telstra before, they might show up as a contact. If you've got regular suppliers, they'll show up as well. So what you can do is type your contact in here. If you know their name, let's just use Telstra, for example. If you haven't used them before, then they'll show up as a new contact, and you can just add their details in as you go. So let's say we're going to pay Telstra. The date of the bill might be the 1st of September. Then in the due date, you can pick your little drop down and pick any kind of date in here, or something I like to do, if you know it's due in 2 weeks, you can hit the plus and 14 days, and then that will pop in the due date for you. And your reference you usually find on your bill, so it might be invoice number 90, for example. And then we can pop the total in over here. A description in, so it might be and that's going to our telephone account. We've got our tax rate there, and we can approve that. We will come back to this bill, so let's approve that one there. So once we've approved our bill, we can then add another one in from this screen, or we can then go and have a look at what we need to pay. There's also another function in here with this little page icon over here where you can upload supporting documents for your bill. So if you've received a PDF from Telstra, or perhaps you might have received an electronic invoice from someone else, you can add it up here. And there are a few different ways that you can go about that. You can upload your files directly from your desktop. You can add the files from your library, or you can just click and drag a PDF from anywhere into this section over here. So I have prepared one a little bit earlier, and it's actually not a Telstra bill, but that's okay. So you can just click and drag, and then you'll have a little attachment showing on your bill that you've entered. So if you need to go back and double check, perhaps GST, or maybe you just want to see your bill history, you can do it that way. There's also in every Xero file a unique email address. If you click on the little drop down over here and go into files, it brings up a way for you to be storing electronic documents. So you have this little email address over here that looks quite convoluted, but you can copy that, save it in your contacts as Xero documents, and then you can forward things directly in here from your email. And then you'll keep all your little electronic files in here, and you can upload them directly from your desktop as well. But then you can create them, the bills from within here, and attach your source documents to your bills as well. So there's a few different ways that you can add your documents in there. So if we go back into our bills, we've basically got a list of everything that's in here on the first page. It's kind of like an overview of every bill that's ever been entered into the file, whether it's been paid, whether it's in draft, whether it's awaiting payment. You can see the status over to the right there. If you need to narrow them down at all, you've got your little tabs across here, so you can see quite quickly clicking in here that something might need someone's approval. This might be you might have maybe an office assistant that creates bills for you, but you want the ultimate say and you want to confirm that the bill is correct before you then go and confirm it. So that's basically what the awaiting approval status is for. You've also got the draft status too, so you can create something, save it and come back to it if you need to. Then as you sort of step through the approval process, then they come into the awaiting payment section here. So you can see at a bit of an overview over here on the right, we've got 16 bills totaling $9,192 that are payable. Once they go past the due date, they start showing in red. So again, as a sort of overview, you can see the red ones straight away that we probably need to action. You've also got your paid section, which keeps your history of everyone that's been paid. And then I find the repeating bill quite handy as well. So if you know, just for a little bit of background, I have a cat, his name is Clyde, and he has Royal Canin cat food. So I've created a recurring bill for Clyde's cat food. And you can hop in here and have it repeat. It can be a weekly thing, a monthly thing. You've sort of got your control over here as to how often your bill repeats and when the next bill is going to sort of create. When the due date's going to be, it might only be perhaps 5 bills, so you can pop an end date in here as well. You pop your contact in here for your bill from. So in this instance, we're getting our food from Royal Canin. And then you can pop your reference in here, and there's also what's called a placeholder. So where it's got the month in columns, in brackets, that updates as the bill recurs. So you can have week, month, year, week, year, month, year, and you can pop the same thing in the description, and I'll show you what I mean by that. When you click on preview placeholders, it shows you what the description is going to be. So Clyde cat food for September, and then the line description, cat food for September 2021. And you can determine whether you want your bill to be a draft or whether you want it to pop straight into that bills to pay section. So if we go approve and then go save, that will generate that on the 1st of October, and it'll pop in there. And then you can see a bit of an overview of your recurring bills, how often they repeat, when the next one will generate, if there's an end date perhaps, and where it's going to be. So if it's saved as draft, when the next one creates, it'll sit over in the draft section. Okay, so we'll go back to our all for a second. All right, so something that we were wanting to look at is paying multiple bills at once. Now, what we did with Telstra before was we only put their name in. We didn't put any other details in, no email, no bank details or anything like that. That doesn't matter. We can go in and complete all of that, but we don't need to. If we go into our awaiting payment, you'll see you've got your bills listed here, who they're from, the date, the due date, what's due, and any kind of reference over here. So say, for example, we wanted to filter based on who the bill was from. We can have a list here in alphabetical order, or if we perhaps wanted to look at the date that the bill was generated, we can filter that way too. So I might want to pay these first 4 bills. So I tick those, and then I go to batch payment, confirming the bills that you're going to pay. And then it has a little think about it. We select which bank account it's going to come out of, and then we're creating a batch payment. So we review the bills that we're going to pay. So we can see over here the business bank account that's coming out of. We're creating a batch payment. We're paying it today. We can change that if we want to and perhaps pay it tomorrow. You always need to have a reference in here. So let's just pop test in there. We can see who our payees are, the reference that they're going to get, the due date, and then we can just pop the details in here. So as long as you've got your details handy as you're making your payment, because it won't let you process without these details, then you go to your payment summary. And there are a lot of steps before the money physically leaves your bank account. So this is the batch payment that we've just put together. We're paying these 1, 2, 3, 4 different suppliers. Usually they wouldn't all have the same bank account numbers, and this is everything that we're paying them. So if we're happy with that, we go finish and view batch. And then what we do is we export the batch file, and that creates a notepad file that you can then upload into your bank. Now, depending on what type of bank you are with, it might take a couple of steps to do that, but most online banking providers will have the functionality for you to upload what's called an ABA file, and that contains all this information in here: who we're paying, which bank account it's going to, and how much is coming out. So you would export your batch file, and you can see it's sort of just downloading here. Once you've gone through the process and uploaded it to your bank and you've sent the payments out, usually then I would go ahead and send remittance out to the people that I have just paid so that they know. And this is where you can pop their email address in if you haven't already done that previously. So once you've got their emails in, you can send the remittance. You can send yourself a copy if you'd like to keep track of that as well. And then once the payment's processed, then you know that you've paid Central Copier, Smart Agency, Clyde the Cat and Telstra what was due to them. Okay, I'm just going to stop that share for a moment. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, it can take a little bit of getting used to as you work through the process. Often you might come across someone that doesn't have bank details or an email address, and you can add them in as you're going there if you've got the information handy. Otherwise, you can go into the contacts list and update it there, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. Okay. So something that I find is quite underused, and I'll share my screen again, is the contacts area. So just bear with me one sec. Go back into the demo file. Okay, so in the contacts section up here, we've got all contacts, customers and suppliers. If you were to just enter a contact and not pay them or receive any money from them, then they'd just be showing as a contact. Once a transaction happens, Xero determines whether they're a customer of yours or a supplier. Then these groups down here are ones that I've created, and you can customize them as much as you like. And I'll show you a little bit more on those in a moment. So once we go into the contacts, now this has recently been updated by Xero, and I think it's really good. I'll show you a little video in a sec just to show you some of the functions in here. So this is all of our contacts. So anyone that we've ever put in as we've received money from or we've paid will be listed here. You can see 7-Eleven's got no details there. 132 Collins has got a phone number. ABC has got email, and so on and so forth. So you've got the whole list here, and now you can see at a glance what you are owed and what you owe. You can obviously go in and look at more specific things here, but in the contact section you can see everyone you've dealt with within your Xero file, if you owe them money, if they owe you money, and the little red timer shows up if it's overdue. So it's a really good place to sort of have a wide look at everything. Now, as we have a bit of a look through, we can hop into someone specifically, and we can sort of see a bit of history within here. So we can see that we've approved an invoice for them recently, what it was for, that they owe $1,650. We can see their contact details over here. We can see that we've got them in a group, which I'll show you a little bit more information shortly, but we don't have any financial details. We can also see that I've been playing around with them on the 4th of November, that's interesting, but we've approved an invoice and anything that's been changed in here. So this is good if you have a few different people that have access to your Xero file. If they make any changes, you can see exactly what's happened within there. If there's been any money in or out over the last 12 months, you have a little graph here as well. So what we can do in this area is we can edit their information. So we might know that the contact is Joe. So whenever we send him any remittance or any statements, you can customize your email to say, "Hi Joe, here's your statement." You pop the email in. You can add a secondary person if you want to. So perhaps Joe might have a partner that wants to see things as well. Pop their name in here in the email, and you can tick that to include it in their emails too. So say, for example, you might be sending something to maybe the business owner and their accountants department. You can have them both in here and only send the one thing out when you're creating invoices. We can pop phone numbers in here and addresses. Here we've got financial details. So because we're mainly looking at purchases today, that's what I'll focus on. But if you've got any other questions about any of the other areas, we can look at that later. So you can maybe pop a default account in here for your purchase settings. So if you know every time you pay these guys, it's going to an office supplies account or something like that. You can allocate that in here and know that every time you create a bill for them, that will default to that account. Region we don't really use very much. That's more of a tracking type thing, which we're not going to cover today, but we can at a later date. You can pop ABNs in here, which is really good if you use subcontractors. And you can put default GST treatment on the contact as well. You can pop a credit limit in if you want. So perhaps you might want to make sure that after someone owes you or you owe them a certain amount, that there's no more transactions going on there. So if you were to create a new invoice, it'll pop up with a warning saying you're over your limit. Here's where you pop your bank account details for your batch payments if you're not doing it where we did before. So your BSB and account number goes in this one line, the name of the bank account goes here, and you might say, that might be the description that comes through. You might have default bills due for them, and you can set all of these up as you're going with each contact. So once you save their information, then that will flow through. But also what we did before when we created the batch payment and put the emails in and the bank details, that automatically saves in this area as well. So you don't have to be constantly re-entering things in different screens. All right, so we're happy, we've updated that. That's all really good. Let's go back to our contacts. Sometimes you probably find you might have a mistype and you might spell someone's name slightly different. We've got that down here. So we've got Clyde the cat and Clyde the cat. As much as possible, you want to keep your contacts nice and tidy. And if you've got duplicates like this, it can impact reports further down the track. And I'll show you what I mean by there. So Clyde's surname is actually 2 words. So this second one is the incorrect contact that we've got there. So what we do is we hop into him and we go over to our options and we merge with the contact that we want him to be. So we only want one contact and we want it to read that way. So all the history for the incorrect Clyde and the correct Clyde will merge together and show under the correct Clyde. So if we merge those, we'll no longer have 2 Clydes. So we can see that we've only got 1. So that's really handy if you have double up sometimes, like you might accidentally put the S and the L around the wrong way for Telstra or something like that. It happens all the time. So it can pay to have a bit of a look in your contact section and make sure you don't have any duplicates in there. And if you do, it's a simple process to merge them. And what we can do as well is create these groups that I promised we'd get back to. So contractors, office suppliers, regular suppliers, and support clients, and we can make the group anything that we want it to be. So you might maybe want a VIP group. And you know that you want to maybe pop the ATO into your VIP group. So you just tick on and you can pop multiple people in there, tick on those, add to group, put them in the VIP group, and then you've sort of given them a bit of a classification there. The reason why this is handy is you can hop in here and see straight away who your VIPs are, who your office suppliers are. This is good if you've got contractors as well, you can pop them in there too, but you can also run reports on these. So if we go into the accounting section, you've got your reports there. You may or may not be familiar with this, but there's a lot of different things you can get reports on, and these are constantly updating. So we're looking at purchases today, but there's obviously sales and all sorts of other things in there that you can have a look at. So in the purchases section, we can have a look at a summary or a detail. There's lots of other options down here, but I just want to focus on these two for the moment. So if we click on the summary, we can see as at today, aging by the due date, here's our summary of everything that's outstanding. Now, those other invoices that we paid before aren't showing here anymore because we've paid them as far as the program is concerned. So this looks really good as a bit of an overview. We can see exactly what's current, what's a little bit overdue, and if anything was really overdue. But then we can also group them by the groups that we just created. So we can have a quick look and go, oh gosh, our office suppliers are getting a bit out there, or our regular suppliers are getting a bit out there. And you can sort of see what your total outstanding to your office suppliers are at any given time. I find the grouping really handy. You can also do that in the detail section. So at the moment, we're looking at our age payables detail. So you have your contact there and any invoices that they have. So if they have multiple, then there'll be a few different lines. But again, we can group them by the contact group and really sort of summarize who we owe what to. You can also export these reports to Excel and have a bit of a play around with them, which I find really handy. So that's those two there. And back to what we were talking about with our contacts. If we go into this accounting section over here, we have income and expenses by contact. So I just want to look at the expenses today. And this gives us our history. So we can have a look, for example, for the last financial year, who we've paid what to. So if we update that, we can see we've paid Bank West. Oh, sorry, excuse me one sec. We're looking at both income and expenses. Let's just look at expenses. Just update that. So we can see for the 2021 financial year, who we've paid the most money to. So you can sort of be tracking along and running things as you go. Oh gosh, I feel like we pay a lot of money to Ben down the road for his transport or something like that. But I'm not really sure how much. I'd like to talk to him about how high our bills are getting and maybe see if we can arrange some sort of discount. You can run this report and you can see exactly what's going on there. So if we go to this financial year, that might give us a bit more information as well. So you can see there's more in there that we've paid. So perhaps you might want to talk to Oliver Gray about how much you're spending with him, and is there any chance that we could maybe look at getting a bit of a discount, or perhaps if we pay on time? And did you know that in the last financial year we spent over X amount of dollars with your business? Let's talk about some things. You can also do that with your income as well. This is why it's really handy to make sure that your contacts are correct, so that you're not seeing two different lines for the one person. If you want to see both income and expenses together, you can take that filter off, and you've got your type here with your expenses and your income all by contact. Again, you can export that to Excel, filter based on your contact, based on the dollars, based on the prior financial year, and you can get a lot of really amazing information out of these reports. I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment. Okay, that was the main overview of everything that I wanted to run through. Does anyone have anything in particular they'd like me to address? You might just need to pop yourself off mute.
Just hello. Just with the banking ABR. ABA, sorry. Mm-hmm. Yep. Do we need to contact them firstly and set it up, or is that like if we're with Bendigo Bank, is that just something we contact them, they give us an email address, or is it something we have to upload into the banking system?
from the Bendigo Bank side
From
of
the
things.
Bendigo Bank side of things, or Westpac or whatever.
Yep.
I know they might be all different, but.
Yep. So say, for example, my bank is a Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And I want to pay you guys via ABA.
Yeah.
If I haven't done it before, I'd probably just double check that my business banking account allows me to upload ABA files. That would just be a phone call with the bank, and they could just check the settings there, because 9 times out of 10, it's not a problem, but it'll be that one time where you want to make a really big payment that, you know, you haven't got the functionality enabled. So if you're not sure if your bank allows it, give them a quick call and they'll be able to check that for you.
Yeah.
As far as me giving you money, that just happens. You don't know how it's come about, other than that I've paid you. So whether I'm paying 10 different people via you know, maybe BPay or Pay Anyone or something like that, whether I'm doing it manually within the bank account or whether I'm uploading an ABA file, it makes no difference to you as long as the money hits your bank account.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's answered that one.
Excellent. Anything else that you guys wanted to address? I'm sure as you work your way through and like your payables amazing and your contact groups fantastic, you'll probably come up with some questions. But yeah, as always, just email, call, text, remote, smoke signal, however you'd like to communicate. We can always help you out. Every now and again we get a bit stumped, but we have some really fantastic contacts at Xero that usually get back to us within about 24 hours. So Peter, I promise you can't break anything, but if you want to have a go and a bit of a play around with something that you're not sure about, jump in that demo file and go nuts. Create invoices, make payments, you know, pop yourself in as a contact and see how it all works without impacting your actual file. I use it all the time.
Yeah. And we are going to be able to get a copy of this recording.
Yes, you are. Yes, absolutely. And I'll follow up for the other recording as well and make sure you get a copy of that too.
That'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, if you don't have any other questions, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll no doubt be in touch soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.